Welcome to Seasoned. I'm Chef Plum. We're coming to you live from our studio in Hartford, and it's our annual summer barbecue show. It's almost like Christmas to me. I love this time of year, and we want to hear from you, especially if you're a barbecue lover like me. Where are all your favorite places to go to get ribs and brisket and pulled pork? Let us know. I want to hear all about it. I can't wait to tell you about some of mine. Now, listen, barbecue is rooted in Black American cooking traditions, but it's grown to be beloved by people across the communities and regions all over the country. We're going to get into some traditions and some regional barbecue styles and talk about how Connecticut is developing its own style of barbecue, borrowing from many traditions, including soul food. Talk to us. Our number is 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. And coming up a little bit later, Daryl Thomas, the pitmaster from Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop in Manchester, will join us by phone to talk about his roots with North Carolina barbecue. But first, I'm joined in studio by Jeff Schmidt. He's the co-owner and pitmaster of Hindsight Barbecue in Waterbury and the Hindsight Barbecue food truck at the Gastro Park in West Hartford. Jeff, welcome to Season. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. So honored to be here.
I got to tell you, you guys can't see here on the radio, but Jeff showed up and has a spread of barbecue on this table that is outstanding. I'm so excited about all this food, Jeff.
All right. I'm just, I brought it here to mask the smokiness of myself.
What it is?
Yeah.
Hey, give us a little bit of a brief history of Hindsight. Kind of how'd you guys start? And, is there a barbecue style for you?
Sure, absolutely. We started almost 3 years ago now, so we'll be turning 3 in October. We opened in October of 2020, so we're a COVID baby.
Yeah.
Which was, good and bad, obviously. It's very scary to open a restaurant when, restaurants are shut down. But it really gave us some time to hone our craft and make sure we were doing everything exactly the way we wanted to. And obviously, as things started opening up, so did we. So that's when we started to grow even quicker. But our style, I would say, it's a very loose term, but we kind of refer to ourselves as a new school barbecue.
Okay.
Which basically means you're blending traditions and regions to kind of create
your
own.
That Kansas City, that Memphis,
Everything.
That Carolina, kind of turning it into your own style.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. I mean, and trust me, if you haven't had Hindsight Barbecue yet, like I've got in front of me, you're totally missing out. You got to go check these guys out. They're so good. And if you got any barbecue questions, smoking, grilling, anything, give us a call, 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. We got you covered. Jeff, is there a Connecticut style of barbecue or like a Northeast style of barbecue?
I would say yes. I would say it's a little bit difficult to define totally. I think we're definitely, with our new school moniker, sort of embodying it. But I feel like it's definitely growing. The respect for the smoke game and learning, all these traditions and kind of replicating them. I mean, there's different parts. The regional wood would be a big difference.
So like using wood that's kind of what we have here in the Northeast that maybe they wouldn't have in Kansas City or in Texas.
Exactly. So we cook at Hindsight with all live fire, all wood smokers. So obviously that defines us right there because, we use all oak, but there's hickory, there's other local, cherry that you can find. Whereas in Texas they use like a post oak or even mesquite or, it's different every region. And obviously that imparts a different smoke flavor into your meat right there. So that's probably the most obvious, difference. But
how much does the different style of wood make a difference in the flavor?
Hugely. More than most people would understand. I mean, I guess if you were sort of a backyard chef and you go look up all different wood chips or something, that's why they're there. I mean, you get some cherry, you get some, maple, it does. I mean, if you really are focused on your craft and what it does to your meats and stuff like that, you'll definitely see a difference in flavor.
Because when smoking, like the slightest little change, whether it's the temperature, whether it's the time frame it's in the smoke, or the type of wood, or even the type of seasoning on there, can make a big difference in the flavor.
Absolutely. And there's differences too. I think the big reason we use oak is because it's the most neutral.
Yeah.
It has a nice, smoke layer, but it's not as intrusive as like a hickory or a mesquite, and something that you're really gonna, if you put it in there too long on a wood like that, you're going to only taste that smoke.
Yeah.
So,
and I think of applewood, too, kind of a northeastern,
No, totally. I mean, obviously, everyone kind of thinks about bacon, right, with applewood.
Always.
We've smoked some whole hogs, actually, with some applewood, but it's kind of a tough wood to use. It's very ashy. It burns very hot, or it burns very quickly, not necessarily as hot as you'd want it. So that's the other thing, too. They burn at different temperatures. It's definitely a science once you really dive into it.
There's definitely a science to it, for sure. I mean, like, I've been learning so much more about it. Barbecue's been a part of my, culinary language for years now. And I feel like now in Connecticut, this boom is kind of happening where barbecue's kind of becoming, I don't know, more of a staple thing in our state, where it's not strange to see somebody here eating, pulled pork or smoking sausage. It's kind of a community.
For sure. I definitely think, in my experience as well, just having other restaurant backgrounds, I feel like it's a deviation from the norm when it comes to, the chef life, because it's outside usually. You're in the elements. It's much more casual. It takes a lot longer to cook things and smoke things, so you have more time to do other things. So I feel like it is intense. It is serious, and especially if you're running your own restaurant trying to serve barbecue. But I think it's for a professionally trained chef that works in a kitchen all day. Getting into backyard smoking is kind of it's super fun.
Yeah, it's a great way to hang out. And, people get serious about their barbecue here. And if you have a shout out someplace you want to tell us about that maybe we don't know about, your special secret neighborhood barbecue spot, give us a call. The number is 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. Let's go to Billy here in Stonington. Billy, welcome to Seasoned.
Hi, thank you very much.
Well, you got a great barbecue shout out for us, yeah?
Yeah, Dog Watch Barbecue in Mystic, Connecticut.
Dog Watch. I don't think I've had these guys. Tell us about it. What's your favorite thing they do?
They got brisket, and their burnt ends are incredible. Their mac and cheese is terrific. And for families, it's terrific. They have all kinds of, cornhole and games that they can go a great outdoor dining experience in the summer.
Man, I love that. Thanks, Billy. I'm going to check out Dog Watch for sure. It's funny because barbecue kind of is that. You go to a place like you guys at Hindsight, you kind of hang out outside and have a great time while you're eating, and there's things to do. He said cornhole, all that stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we have that. We're dog friendly, kid friendly. That's what it's all about, is families coming and eating in a casual environment.
Yeah, let's go to Marianne. She's in Meriden. Marianne, welcome to Seasoned.
Hi.
You got some favorite barbecue places you want to tell us about?
I do, and they're around the country. The two favorite barbecues are St. Louis ribs and barbecue pork steaks. And my favorite barbecues are Pappy's in St. Louis, Corky's in Memphis, and Taino in Meriden.
Love it. I love all that. I want to go. You're making my list of places to go. Jeff and I are leaving on a road trip here soon. It's going to be so much fun. Thanks, Marianne. We appreciate it.
You won't be disappointed with any of them.
We're going to pick you up along the way, okay?
Oh, please do.
Thanks, Marianne. It's funny because barbecue is like it's kind of accepted everywhere. Like, barbecue is just delicious food that, it's low and slow. It's almost, is it a lifestyle?
Oh, most certainly. I think that's part of the, you can attribute it to its rise in popularity nationwide, even globally. Honestly, barbecue, I would say you can agree that it's sort of a quintessential American cuisine, whereas we're so used to having a melting pot of all different types of, whether it's, we're famous for pizza here in Connecticut or in the Northeast, and there's plenty of other, amazing Thai restaurants and Chinese, and you name it. Like, we're such a melting pot, and it's so great. But when it comes to barbecue, obviously it's deeply rooted in the South, but it sort of started, the real history of it is from immigrants and stuff, especially like in Texas. I feel like it's like sort of like Czech and German roots, which is ironic, but it's grown from there so much. So
yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle. I couldn't agree more. Now, is it always low and slow? Because whenever I talk to barbecue guys, it's always low and slow. Do it low and slow. That's my barbecue guy voice.
Yeah. No, I like it. It depends on the cut of meat you're looking to smoke, and it depends on the result that you're looking for. When you really get into it, and you could look up a video of anything you want, but there's hot and fast. There's nothing wrong with that when it comes to certain dishes, for sure. But if you want everything rendered out and you really want it to be that sort of melty, beautiful effect, it's the low and slow is what really does the trick.
Yeah. So I know we think of meats when we think of barbecue, whether we're thinking of brisket or pulled pork or sausages or ribs, for goodness sakes. I love ribs and brisket. Did I say brisket? I really like brisket. Have I mentioned that? Brisket's one of my favorites. There's some sitting right in front of me, which is kind of the issue I'm having right now. But there's also options for vegetarian and for vegan people. Like, I know one of the things you guys do at Hindsight, you have cauliflower burnt ends. Can you talk about that real quick?
Absolutely. So I guess the definition of barbecue is cooking with fire, so it doesn't say anything about meats. You can smoke seafood, obviously.
Sure.
Everyone does that and does that tremendously. But veggies is fine too. Something like cauliflower, obviously, it's a pretty hearty vegetable. You need to break down the fibers just like you need to break down the meat. So it's like it can take on smoke. It can take heat for a long time. And it cooks up great. I mean, as long as you like a little bit of char or that smoky flavor on the outside, because you're going to get that with a long exposed contact with the smoke. But yeah, we sell cauliflower burnt ends. They're amazing.
How long does that cauliflower sit in the smoker for?
Several hours, actually.
Because I think about vegetables, being hard to smoke because to actually get that smoky flavor, because you need to kind of have that fat on there to take on some of that smoke, right?
For sure. That's where the artistry comes in. We actually use a binder and a rub, and so it does create like a little bit of bark, but the binder totally helps with the smoke absorption.
Yeah, so. That's interesting. Do you season it up first or put a little oil on it, or how do you?
Both. Exactly right, yeah. We primarily do, believe it or not, an agave nectar slather or binder.
Oh my gosh.
And, you don't get too much sweetness out of it, but it kind of really helps the rub sort of adhere.
Where has agave nectar slather been my entire life?
There you go. There's a trade secret for you.
I need some of that right now. Listeners, if you are a barbecue fanatic, but maybe you just do things vegetarian, let us know. Give us a call, 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. I want to hear about some vegetarian options. I mean, barbecue is all-encompassing. And we got to go to a break here in a few minutes, but I want to ask you about some of the things you do at Hindsight. If you had to pick one thing that you're most proud of, and the one thing that was the hardest to get right, what were they?
Well, I think you said it like 7 times in your last statement. It's definitely brisket.
Yeah.
From any backyard enthusiast to a true professional, it's always the hardest to accomplish the perfect cook. So we change it up constantly to try to cook it better. We're never like 100% pleased. So
is that one of the things you're proudest of?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, it's on our menu every day. You can get it in a cheesesteak form, or you can get it, in a pure sliced brisket. It's just beautiful.
Okay. Let's take a ride over to New Haven and talk to Mimi real quick. Mimi's got a nice recommendation for us. Mimi, welcome to Seasoned.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're excited to talk to you.
I'm calling because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Ricky D's Rib Shack
in
the Science Park neighborhood in New Haven, which is absolutely fabulous. And he does a Canzalina style. Has a great sauce, which he's bottled. But the thing I really want to tell you is that right now on social media, there's footage of a party, it looks like a private party, of 70 nuns.
Whoa.
All eating barbecue, Ricky D's barbecue.
Nice.
Most of them are wearing pure white from their habits down to their sort of wimples and everything else. And they look so happy, and it's so much fun to see.
Oh, my gosh.
And according to, the voiceover, that all 70 of these nuns could eat, E-A-T, and loved it.
That sounds amazing. I want to go find this Instagram feed now. Whose Instagram? Is it Ricky D's?
I don't know offhand, but it's Ricky D's Rib Shack, and it's definitely on the Instagram feed right now.
Oh, we're going to find it. One of our producers is looking for it right now. Mimi, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see this. I'm very excited.
Okay, great. Thanks. Take care.
I appreciate it. Wow, 70 nuns eating barbecue. I'm waiting for like a punchline or something. That sounds amazing. I kind of want to see this, man. That's incredible. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we are going to be hanging out, talking more barbecue with Jeff and I. You can give us a call and ask us questions at 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. Maybe you just want to shout out your favorite barbecue place. We want to hear it. And later in the show, when we come back, we're going to talk Q and home tips to up your barbecue game. And Daryl Thomas, owner of Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop, talks with us about the family tradition behind his barbecue and soul food restaurant in Manchester. You're listening to Seasoned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Seasoned, everyone. I'm Chef Plum, and it's our annual barbecue show, one of my favorite times of year. Pitmaster Jeff Schmidt, the co-owner of Hindsight Barbecue in Waterbury, and with the food truck parked in West Hartford's Gastro Park, is in studio with me, and we're ready to talk with you on the air. Do you have questions about cuts of meat, temperatures on your smoker, some fun side dishes, or maybe want to shout out your favorite barbecue place? Give us a call at 888-720-9677 or 888-720-WNPR. Maybe you have a family recipe that, you're super proud of. I'll tell you what, I know somebody who does have some family stuff that they're very proud of. I'm going to bring in Daryl Thomas, the pitmaster and owner of Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop in Manchester. He's got some great family recipes. His entire place is based off of family recipes and family-inspired food. Daryl, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're excited to hang out with you.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
Daryl, our producer visited your shop last week and raved about your pulled pork, your vinegary coleslaw, and your mom's mac and cheese. I mean, mac and cheese is a key to my heart, Jeff. I don't know how you feel about it. Tell us a little bit about some of these recipes and the family connection you have with it.
Yeah, well, my family tradition and connection that I have was inspired by my father's side with the barbecue and my grandfather and his uncle and my uncles. My mother's side was responsible for the soul food, traditional foods, the mac and cheese. That's something that she's made for every family event, and family members would ask her to make it for the family reunion or whatever else was going on. So, she was the inspiration behind that, which is why I titled the mac and cheese, Mom's Mac and Cheese.
How can anybody not want to order something called Mom's Mac and Cheese, you know?
I had to make sure that she had the credit and, just everyone know that I'm proud of the food that I produce, but it's inspired by her. And so it makes her feel like, all right, well, I'm contributing to my son's business.
Yeah. Well, listen, Daryl, I had talked to Jeff earlier about this, and I wanted to ask you and get your opinion on it, because I know you were probably hearing us on hold, and you might have been chomping at the bit to give your 2 cents on it. Do you think we have a Connecticut style of barbecue or a Northeastern style of barbecue?
I don't think it's really been clearly defined by people outside of Connecticut. For myself, I'm a person who's proud of where I'm from, but also I'm proud of where I'm at. I've taken some of the North Carolina roots and traditions of the vinegar, and I infuse them with what we have here in Connecticut, because that's where I live here.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to try to produce a culture of food that I want to give homage to where I'm at. So what I tend to do is to try to make sure I, infuse the maple into my sauce, the white oak into my wood smoke. And this way it distinguishes my barbecue from that of another region of the country.
With the wood.
Yeah. And so to me, when I talk to customers, they ask me what style of barbecue I produce. And yeah, I do have some roots from the Carolinas, but I'm really more pushing for the Connecticut. I want people to say, yeah, I had some good Connecticut barbecue. Not I went to Connecticut and had some Carolina barbecue.
I like that. I mean, listen, I think we have great food in our state. We really do. And I feel like we get kind of looked over sometimes, Jeff.
No doubt. I mean, I'm proud to be here. Like he was saying, it's like, this is where I'm at now. This is where my family is. And, I just, my love and passion for making barbecue every day, it kind of doesn't matter where you are. So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's take a quick trip over to Killingsworth and talk to Chris. Chris has a couple of questions. Chris, welcome to Seasoned.
Hi, how you doing?
We are doing fantastic, my friend. What can we do for you today?
So my question is about sourcing meat for barbecue, because I love barbecue, but I want Connecticut barbecue with Connecticut meat. And that usually means that I have to do it myself at home.
Okay.
And I was wondering if there are any barbecue places that you know of that use like Connecticut meat, grass-fed meat, or pastured animals, or at least New England meat.
Okay. Jeff, what do you think? You know anything about that?
Sure. I have connections just from being in the restaurant industry for a while. There's lots of local farmers that do amazing work. The main thing I would immediately say is, like, if you ever want to try to do a whole hog, there's a laundry list. You can Google it. You can look it up of local farmers, obviously, that are raising some great pigs, grown here, born here. And, I mean, we've had some amazing quality whole hogs sourced right from here in Connecticut that we've done. We don't do it on the regular. We do it sort of like on a need basis. Folks will call up and want to do a pig roast. But that would be my go-to for locally sourced. It gets a little bit more difficult when you get into more of like if you wanted to do like brisket, for instance. I don't recommend the grass-fed for quality, only because you really want high marbleization, and then the grass-fed products don't necessarily, sing to that.
Yeah.
I have a relationship with, there's a Vermont Wagyu company that makes amazing, and it's somewhat local. Obviously, it's not from this state, but it's from New England.
Yeah.
So you can search out more locally sourced meats, absolutely. Obviously, chickens and stuff like that are easy.
Sure. I'm just throwing this out there for you, Chris. There is a company out there now called Connecticut Wagyu. I'm not sure 100%. I think their beef is coming from Connecticut. And I know there's also a bison farm here in Connecticut as well. But as far as places using that yet, nothing off the top of my head. But it's definitely available, and you can find it if you look for it for sure, Chris.
Yeah. No, I always roast my own animals, but I
Nice.
was hoping there's some barbecue places that are committed to like only using local meat. But
Yeah, I would love that too. I would love that too. Chris, we appreciate it. All right, friends, give us a call here. Shout out your favorite barbecue place, 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. Daryl, this March, you celebrated your 3-year anniversary in Manchester. Like, you opened literally on the day that COVID shut our state down. How has the community shown up for you?
Oh, wow. The community has been phenomenal. From day one, they came in, even though COVID was present. No one really knew the rules of COVID, but they endured learning the rules, and we were trying to be the model business, new business, trying to be safe and understand the new culture change. And the community rallied behind us, supported us. Manchester has been wonderful. The surrounding towns, it's just grown from there, whether it was through Facebook and everyone being home, on their computers, in groups, saying go out and support Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop, a new business that just opened up during this tough time of this year or tough time of life. And it's been really rewarding to have that support.
That's amazing. That's got to be a great feeling. So, Daryl, your sides are a showcase of great soul food. And we touched on the mac and cheese a second ago, but, mom's mac and cheese, cornbread, your sister's candied yams, collard greens. I mean, the meats are the usual stars of a barbecue joint, but your sides are kind of telling a story here, too. What do you want people to know about the place where barbecue and soul food meet?
The soul food piece is something special. It's the spirit that lies within me that comes from others that inspired me. This is a culture in which, I've learned from various members. And as I said, their inspiration, I've just paid homage to them and what they produce that I really value and showcase it in my restaurant. So I have my sister's candied yams. Her candied yams were phenomenal. They were just something that was above that of everyone else's that I've tried. So I were able to, sit down with her and get the recipe. My grandmother's, which is Nanny's collard greens. Her collard greens were cooked every Sunday almost growing up. That's how I remember it. But they were also done very slow until, she got her pressure cooker, in which I use a pressure cooker now, which expedites that process. But the ingredients are still the same. And the tough part was actually extracting those ingredients from someone who cooks from the soul, and they just add a sprinkle of this, a sprinkle of that. And for me, I try to be consistent, and you got to catch those sprinkles and measure them out so that you can produce a consistent product. And so, my dad's baked beans, my wife's mother, her cornbread, that's the inspiration behind that. My uncle's green beans. So everything has some type of spark within me that makes me want to showcase it.
It's almost like it's made with so much love already that how much more love can you put into it,
That's right. And each time I make it, each time I see it or have someone talk about it, it makes me feel connected with those that inspired it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It makes it family.
I'm excited. I love side dishes. They're one of my favorite things. I love collard greens. I don't know how would she would feel about using a pressure cooker, but is that cheating?
Well, collard greens can take all day long. Even with the pressure cooker, it takes a long time.
Those stems are no joke.
Break them down. Yeah, those stems, you have to break them down and get them tender. And so the amount of collard greens that we produce, we literally have to stay there all night long cooking collard greens if we cooked it the traditional way without pressure cooking.
Well, all right, pitmasters, let's talk about some basic cuts. Brisket, ribs, pork butt, shoulders. What are some of your favorite cuts to work with? I mean, because for me, I love brisket. It's a little bit more difficult to work with. I love working with ribs. I love smoking chickens. Those are some of my favorite things to work with right off the bat. Jeff, what's a couple of your favorites?
I think something that's a little underrated and super versatile that pretty much anyone can cook is pork belly. I think people are scared of the fat content. I think they think it's bad for you. But I feel like you can cook it so many ways. You can slice it, you can dice it, you can cube it, you can cook it whole. You can cook it with sauce. You can leave it as is. You can cure it and make your own bacon. I think there's this viral thing going around right now where people are making cinnamon rolls out of...
I've seen that.
Right? Doesn't that look wild? I feel like I got to try that. But,
oh my gosh! And for those who don't know, pork belly is what traditionally used to make bacon with.
Right.
That's one of my favorites as well. Daryl, how about you? What's some of your favorite cuts of meat to work with?
Well, my most favorite cut of meat is the brisket.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff, I'm sure I heard you agree with me as
Yeah.
well earlier. You know, that's like the Rolls Royce of meats. When you go to a barbecue restaurant, you judge them based upon their brisket. At least I do. You know, you go there and ask for brisket. Then you go the ribs. You know, that's another one that just gives you a proud, like, all right, here's a rib, and everyone who wants barbecue, they ask for some ribs. So those are the two top ones that I go to. The pork, you know, pulled pork, you know, that's more, it's not as much intricate work as the brisket. You got to find one source of brisket that has the right marbling. You have to trim it correctly. You have to season it correctly, cook it correctly, you know, and then make sure that it has the right moisture and tenderness to it. So there's a lot of steps to the brisket, which makes a pitmaster feel proud when someone says, this is some good brisket.
You know, I think it's funny because pork is one of those things I think is a little bit more forgiving when you're first starting to work on learning how to backyard barbecue. I always tell people, start with a pork butt, get it in that smoker, and just give it a try and see what works for you. Pork for me is one of my favorite things to do. I do it several times a year, you know, for work and just for my house. And it's funny because I'm going to tell both of you gentlemen this. I grew up in Virginia and the Mid-Atlantic area, and barbecue is very similar to Carolina, North Carolina style. But when we said we were having barbecue for dinner or barbecue for a family reunion or something, that was just pulled pork. Like that's what pulled pork's name was, barbecue. Right. And that's what it was in my brain. And it's funny how, you know, it kind of changes when you start learning more about it. But for us, barbecue meant pulled pork, Jeff.
That's still the safe word, though, honestly. Like, it's, you know, I think if you were to take somebody to a barbecue restaurant, they might not be a barbecue enthusiast, and they don't really know what to order, or they're intimidated by brisket or something, they're going to order a pulled pork sandwich. Like, it's like you kind of have to have it. It's like
the go-to.
It's the one it's like the safe word.
Yeah, it's the go-to. Give us a call and tell us what you think about pulled pork. I'm kidding. I can talk whole show on pulled pork.
Well, the gentleman called earlier and talked about the pork steaks, so that's pretty cool. Obviously, that's from the same cut. You just got to find a butcher that can cut through that bone for you, but those are amazing if you can do them right.
100%. Give us a call at 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. Let us know some of your favorite barbecue places around your neighborhood. Now, before we go to break, guys, I got a quick question for you that we got to talk about here. Seasoning, okay? I know seasoning can be very, very personal to pitmasters. Let's start with wet or dry, or just in general. Daryl, you want to start us off there? What do you think? You want wet? You want dry? You know, a lot of guys just put mustard on it before they put it in the smoker. What are you into?
I want to start with the salt and pepper, you know, for obviously the brisket or whatever, but I want to try my barbecue dry. The sauce complements it. You know, it can taste really good, but I want to see what we're dealing with. I want to taste the flavors. I want to taste some saltiness. I want to taste the smoke, the tenderness. All of that is very important when I'm assessing some good barbecue. So I'm going to prefer the dry.
All right. Jeff?
Well, I agree with him in the sense of, I mean, especially if you're trying to kind of gauge where someone's barbecue's at. You know, if it's slathered in sauce, like it could be cooked wrong or poorly or whatever, but I mean, obviously, then it goes to regionals, right? So, like, Memphis is really sort of like dry rub stuff is king, you know, or Nashville.
Yeah.
And then you get to other places, like parts of the Carolina or whatever, or even farther down south, I feel like sort of like the Georgia area, everything is made with sauce, and it's just kind of the way it is. So I think it's more regional when it comes to that. But, no, I totally agree with Daryl in the sense of, like, when you're trying it out, you want to taste the texture, see how well it's been smoked, and yeah.
Let's go to Patricia in Farmington over here. Patricia, welcome to Seasoned.
Oh, hi, Chef Plum. I just wanted to give a shout-out for Sub Edge Farm on Townsend Farm Road in Farmington. They have their own pigs. I don't like to eat meat unless I can see it.
Okay.
And you can meet these fellas. Just ask Isabel. They do a wonderful job, and I know everybody knows, but our farmers in the state have been smashed, especially the ones along the Connecticut, Farmington, Housatonic. People have really been wrecked. There's a fundraiser for them this weekend. I went the last time they did it. It's so much fun. You can bid on a home-cooked meal.
Fantastic.
It's a really great thing. The Doro group comes, and they do cocktails and hors d'oeuvres and goodies for everybody. It's a really nice family-style day. I think whenever we can, we got to support these people.
Absolutely.
Because they do so much for us.
They absolutely appreciate you doing that, too, and we appreciate your phone call. And this sounds like a fun event. Got to check this place out. This sounds awesome.
Oh, it's incredible.
Thanks,
it's
Patricia.
Incredible, and they are amazing people.
Okay, everybody. We're going to take one more short break. And when we come back, we're going to take it low and slow on tips for the amateur barbecuer. Plus, ways to smoke even if you don't have a smoker at your house. And finally, it's your last chance to get those shout-outs in. Give us a call, 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR, and shout out your favorite barbecue spot in the state. I'm Chef Plum. You're listening to Seasoned on Connecticut Public Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Seasoned, everyone. I'm Chef Plum. My guests this hour are Jeff Schmidt from Hindsight Barbecue in Waterbury and Daryl Thomas of Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop in Manchester, and of course, you. Give us a call, 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. And shout out your favorite barbecue spot, even if it's out of state. Today, it's all about the Q. Daryl, I want to start back with you, my friend. The barbecue community itself is a thing and how it's kind of a big family. Can you talk about that and how it is over there where you guys are?
Yes. Are you referring to the culture within my staff and the family there, or are you referring to the community as far as me talking with Chef Jeff over there at Hindsight?
Yeah, I kind of love both of those. I kind of love both of those, actually. Just the community, the family you have there in the store, and then, of course, just in general, the barbecue places here in the state kind of being together and helping each other out.
Yeah, well, as far as the store, I have an amazing staff. I mean, telling you my business would not be what it would be right now without them. They're committed and they really value what we do, the history of where it comes from, and then producing that same flair and love to the customers.
Yeah.
So I love them for it. Now, as far as the community, I can connect with a barbecue pitmaster anywhere, and that's been my experience. And Chef Jeff and I just spoke for 2 minutes there right before the segment began, and he and I connected just off of the commonality of barbecue. It's just a loving culture, the community. Chef Ricky down at Ricky's Rib Shack, he's a fraternity brother of mine. He and I have connected repeatedly throughout his time in being open. Before he was open, he had a food truck. And so Chris at Tayano's a few years ago, he and I connected. BT's Barbecue, various barbecue pitmasters, and I'm not naming everybody, but, there's so many that brings the love to this culture. Yeah, it's a big family, yeah.
Yeah, how about you, Jeff? What do you think about that? You were just telling me about an event you guys do in October, how it's just everybody coming together.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's our big, one time a year, we kind of just shut it all down, and we invite basically anyone, and anyone is welcome. Daryl, you're welcome if you want to come and be a part.
Absolutely.
It's actually it's the third Sunday in October this year, but it's the 15th. It's it's like a block party. It's a total family friendly event, from pumpkin painting with the kids, but we usually have no shortage of like 20 to 30 different drink stations, probably like 20 to 30 different food stations, so you could find anything, and it's kind of just a wild day. But yeah, I mean, barbecue pitmasters from New York, from all over the country come to be a part of it, and that's my experience too. Like, everyone kind of respects you for what you do. So once they talk to you for 5 minutes, they know if real barbecue, if you're a professional or not, and they sort of instantly know like how many hours you spent working at that, and like what you go through on a daily basis to produce that quality of food. And I think it's just an instant connection. I mean, like you said, like you can go to Texas and hang out with those guys, or the Carolinas, and like you're instantly family because they just get it. Like they know what you do, and you know what they do. So,
and you guys are even accepting of like home barbecue, guys. Like it's pretty fun to see.
Absolutely, no, it's a total culture. I'm super proud to be a part of it, and it's definitely growing and changing all the time. But I think that's the beauty of it, is there's so many different avenues and places that you can find it. So,
well, gentlemen, I have to ask. I know some barbecue pit masters get little touchy when we start bringing up sauces. You know, some people are like, I don't want sauce on my barbecue. That's not real barbecue. It has sauce on it. Other people love it. They kind of have a staple. They call it their thing, you know. I mean, one of my favorites, I make an Alabama white, which is just delicious on chicken and all kinds of stuff. But, I mean, you can name them. Carolina, mustard style, you know, just a basic barbecue sauce, a vinegar style. Daryl, do you have a favorite?
You know, I like our vinegar
Yeah.
sauce. We have a vinegar mop that I mop a lot of my barbecue with at the end of it. It's not something that we sell or distribute in the store. It's something that we use as part of the layered flavoring to our barbecue. As I said earlier, I infuse the maple. So I have a bourbon brown sugar. That's our house sauce. And it's done pretty well with us. We get a lot of good feedback on it, but it tastes good. It implements New England, and I'm proud of it.
Excellent. Let's get those shout-outs in there, too. Give us a call here, 888-720-9677. That's 888-720-WNPR. Jeff, I mean, you have a myriad of sauces here in front of me on the table that I haven't even had a chance to talk about yet, but you are a sauce guy. You love them.
Sure. I mean, to me, it's kind of as good as like the sides too. It's the whole picture. Like, I mean, really the beauty of it is when you take your time on all those low smoked meats, and then you add a platter with some beautiful sides that somebody worked hard at and cornbread. But then you got to have your signature sauces. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, we bottle 3. We can't even keep them in stock kind of thing, but it's something sort of we keep close to ourselves. Recipe-wise anyway, but in front of you here is our house barbecue. It is vinegar-based. There is some sweetness. There is some ketchup in there. So this is definitely more of a new school barbecue sauce. It's definitely not regional because it kind of blends elements from everywhere. It's my sister's favorite barbecue sauce, but she might be a little biased. But then, we have a Carolina mustard-based barbecue sauce. I'm sure Daryl knows about that. So friendly with pork and all kinds of different stuff. Even brisket, it's good. And then there's, like you were saying, Alabama white. That's insane. That's actually my favorite barbecue sauce right now as well. Like we make a Alabama white, chicken wing. That's to die for.
Let's go.
You can get it at Castro Park or at home base. But, we've done bourbon barbecue sauces. Like he was saying, maple is amazing. That's more of like the total local spin on things. I love it. So,
I know that our pitmasters aren't going to give out any recipes and none of their secrets, but I'll tell you, if you want to make a great Alabama white barbecue sauce, the way I make mine is a little bit of mayo, some apple cider vinegar, a dash of hot sauce, a nice pinch of salt, a healthy bit of black pepper. Make sure you use fresh cracked black pepper. Don't use that store-bought stuff. Fresh cracked black pepper, spoonful of horseradish, and a little bit of yellow mustard. And whip it all together, and I'm telling you, when I say barbecue sauce and I say mayo and I put them in the same sentence, and Daryl, Jeff, you guys would agree. People look at you like you have 4 heads when you say that.
Yep.
It's delicious. Try it. I promise you, it's delicious. Am I wrong, Daryl?
No, you're not. Absolutely right. Please listen to him.
That's what I want to hear. Can you come to my house and tell my wife that too? Please. Hey, listen, let's talk about just the last few minutes of the show here. I want to talk a little bit about home cooks who maybe want to get into smoking and some ways they can start doing some smoking at home if they don't have a smoker. I'll give you guys a second to think about that. But one of the things I tell people is to do that indirect method on your grill where you take one side and keep it hot, one side keep it the burners off, and you can get little smoke boxes. But if you don't have a little smoke box, you can also take some foil, put your smoke chips in there, get them a little bit of wet, and if you're going to put something wet in there, I always say make something taste good. You like beer? Put beer in there instead of water. Let them soak in that beer a little bit. Fold it up, give it a little chimney on the outside, and let that get nice and hot, and it'll start to smoke inside of your grill while you're cooking to add some flavor to it, Jeff.
Yeah, if you don't have a smoker at home, obviously it's a little more difficult, but if you've ever cooked on a campfire, I mean, if you're a Boy Scout or anything like that, I mean, there's so many ways you can. If anyone's ever, not putting a baked potato in foil, like you said, and stick it in the coals and see what you come out with, you can get a loaded baked potato, throw some chopped brisket or pulled pork or cheese in there. I mean, that's a meal and a half right there. And that's like you can literally do that on any kind of campfire on the beach or wherever.
That sounds amazing.
So
I love that idea. Daryl, any suggestions?
Yeah, well, definitely don't put your meats over the coals. I learned, from a young person, move your coals to the side. And you can put a little drip pan underneath with some water underneath it. And this way it will reduce the heat coming from that part of the smoker or the grill up underneath your meats. But just make sure that, like I said, you're just not having that direct exposure to the heat. minimizing that. Rotate your meats depending on how small your cooker is, and seeing that your meats closest to the coals are not being too much exposed and therefore unevenly being cooked.
That's a good tip with the water pan underneath there, because that really kind of helps keep that temperature low, because low and slow is the key. You don't want to try to smoke something at 450 degrees. It's too much. It's going to cook all the way through before it's totally get that smoky flavor in there. And, one of the other things home cooks could also do, I talked about doing that foil, putting some wood chips in there and keeping the wood chips wet, whether you put water or beer or wine or something. I'm a big fan. If you're going to add something like that, make it flavorful. You can also use like tea, like tea in a tea bag, and you can actually use that to smoke with as well, too. Put that in the foil packet. It works pretty well. I've done tuna that way.
That's cool, man. I mean, I'm a big fan of the reverse sear method, though, as well. Like you were saying, like that's might not be true barbecue, but at the same time, like you should try that.
Just define that for them so they know what that means.
Yeah, so you're not like Daryl was saying, sort of. You're not cooking directly on the heat at first. You're going to shut the burners off on one side of your grill, and you're going to keep the burners on the other side and make sure your meat gets the temp a little bit on the with that indirect heat, and then at the very end, you cook it hot and fast just for like a minute on each side. And it's amazing how it seals in the juices and you get that little bark on the outside. And honestly, like at the restaurant, we don't always serve it, but it might be a pitmaster secret, but we actually, we love all kinds of beef and all different kinds of cuts, and we experiment constantly. And a lot of times we will smoke off a piece, like a beautiful steak, like a ribeye or a T-bone, and then, which is basically doing the indirect heat, right? Because it's in the smoker. And then we actually pull the coals forward right in the firebox and just caveman style it, where we just finish it right on the coals just for like literally 20 seconds, and it comes out insane.
I love that. Absolutely. I got a couple shout outs here on social media from my Instagram at chef_plum. I put out there for people to shout out their favorite barbecue places. Grill Mama shouts out Hoodoo Brown. Love those guys. Great people. Andrew Dominic from CT Bites shouts out Hindsight and Hoodoo. He says Bears is also super solid. Expedition Feast is shouting out Hoodoo. We got some people who are saying probably your house. At Forking Chef says Hindsight. Ryan Christopher shouts out Bears. We have tons. Sir HFR4 says my backyard. So people, barbecue is one of those things that hits home with everybody, I feel like, in some way, Do you guys want to shout out, because I know you both work with your wives. Do you want to shout out your wives really quick? Because, they're going to get upset if they hear you on the radio and you don't bring them up, Daryl. You got to shout her out a little bit.
Yeah, I would definitely want to shout out my wife, Cassandra. Got to take this moment here to let her know that I appreciate your support and helping me develop what I have here today. And hopefully that gives me some brownie points at home, Thank you, Chef, for looking me out here.
I got you, man. I got you. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, big shout out to my whole family. It's totally a family affair. My partner, Heather, and, she's the pit bee, as you know. Yeah. But, yeah, my dad's a big part of it, my sister, my whole family. So it's a family affair for sure.
I love the family part of this.
More.
Yeah, I love the family part of this whole thing. It's what makes it so much fun. It's such a great summertime. I don't know. The whole thing is so fun. You just hang out, come to the shops, hang out outside, play some cornhole, have a few beers, eat some delicious food. One of my favorite things. I love barbecue food, gentlemen. Absolutely. Final tips before we get out of here, guys. One last tip you give to a nice home cook working on barbecue. Jeff?
I would say just take your time. I think a lot of times, it is a low and slow process. Don't have a specific time that you want to have it finished or whatever, which is hard to say if you're having a party or something like that. But if you really pay attention to a recipe and follow all the steps and take care of your meat, follow the ingredients and the instructions, honestly, because if you skip a step, sometimes in the end you forgot a slather, you forgot a rub, you forgot a mixture, or you're not watching your cook. You'll be so shocked if you really pay attention and follow each steps carefully. By the end of the cook, you could do it. Anyone can do it.
Absolutely. Daryl, 20 seconds. What's your best tip for a home cook?
It's not going to take me all of the 20 seconds, but I'm going to tell every inspiring cook, get yourself a thermometer.
Hey!
This way you know what your temperatures are, and you know if your food is cooked thoroughly or not cooked.
I love that. That's actually a really great piece of advice right there.
That's probably the most important one.
Honestly, that's a really great piece of advice. And the one I'm going to give to everybody, if it burns charcoal, it can burn wood. Don't be afraid to try to cook on your charcoal grill with wood to add some different flavors to it. It really does make a big difference. It's a fun way to try to start cooking, especially this time of year. It's great. Have yourself a drink or a mocktail and go out there and grill on some wood fire. It's fun. I love it. Thank you, Daryl. We appreciate you joining us of Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop in Manchester. We can't wait to come see you guys. The shop is open from Wednesday to Saturday. And Jeff Schmidt of Hindsight Barbecue in Waterbury, it's such a fun place to grab a picnic table and just chill. Thank you, friends. I appreciate you guys joining us here on the show today.
Thank you so much. Proud to be here.
Appreciate it.
I'm Chef Plum. Season is produced by Robyn Doyon-Aitken, Catie Talarski, Meg Dalton, Stephanie Stender, Tagan Engel, and Catrice Claudio. Sabrina Herrera and Meg Fitzgerald are on our team as well. And our interns are Stacey, Addo, and Carol Chen. Go to our show page for links to information about barbecue history and barbecue cookbooks that we recommend. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you soon. Cook on wood. It's fun.